If you've ever tried to apply caulking before, you know how frustrating it can be. I'm going to show you 3 different ways of doing it today. So the next time that you have to do some caulking, it'll be a little bit easier for you. Unless you're using a squeeze tube, the first thing you're going to need is a caulking gun. If you have one that looks like this, your best bet is to take this and throw it in the trash. These things are very frustrating to use. This is the caulking gun I like to use. It's much smoother than the one I just showed you. When you're working a trigger, the caulk comes out nice and steady. That's what you need, is a caulking gun that's going to give you good action. Those cheap ones that you get at the home center for $4, they're not going to work well at all. Before you do any caulking, you need to get rid of the old caulk. Get yourself a good scraper like this straight edge razor scraper and scrape out the old caulk. Caulk will stick to caulk, but it won't stick to soap residue and things like that. So it's best to just remove it all, clean everything really well with a degreaser like ammonia or something like that before you get started, and of course let it dry thoroughly. The first way I'm going to show you is the way that I hardly ever do it, mainly because it's really difficult to do, but this is how the professionals do it. Take your caulk gun and no tape, no tools, just lay down your caulk and walk away. Let's see if we can get that to work. Okay. You want to cut the tip of your caulking tube off square, straight across, and keep the opening as small as possible. Just make it big enough to cover your biggest gap. So your objective here is to push the caulk gun along. You don't want to drag the caulk along behind the gun. You want to push it this way. That way the tip will flatten it out a little bit for you, and you have to work the trigger to match the speed that you're traveling along the wall in this case, or whatever it is you're caulking. So it is a little bit tricky, but with a little bit of practice you can probably do it. The next way is you can use some masking tape. I'm only using this 2-inch wide because it's the only blue tape I had and I wanted it to show up on camera. And just take this, put it along where you're going to caulk. Where you want the caulk to be, leave a little gap. When you're using the tape method to apply caulking, you should have a container with some white vinegar in it to dip your finger in when you get to the part where you're going to wipe it with your finger. Some people recommend soapy water. I found that when you're using silicone caulk, white vinegar works better than soapy water, and I use soapy water when I'm applying latex caulk. You can try either, but for me, white vinegar works best with silicone. The biggest benefit of doing it this way is you can apply a ton of caulk and still make it look nice. You don't have to worry about how you're putting it on. But you should still try and get it as close as possible to the way you want it to be when you're finished. And just like before, you want to push the caulk along. Don't drag the gun and try and pull the caulk with you. So you have a big gap here. I have to make sure I get enough caulk in there, but don't push too hard when I'm wiping, that I'm going to push it all down into that groove. Okay, have plenty of paper towels ready. Dip your finger in your white vinegar and just start smoothing out your caulk with your finger. And when you feel your finger getting dry, just dip it again and continue smoothing it out. When you need to, wipe it off, and you'll see with the white vinegar it comes right off, and throw that paper towel away. One wipe is all you get. Stuff spreads like crazy. Once you use your finger to smooth it out, you want to take the tape off quickly and peel it back against itself like this, but keep tension on it so it doesn't start to curl up. The biggest problem with using the taping method is you're going to get a slight lip right at the edge of your caulk line, but to be honest, nobody's going to notice it except you. So if you're a little leery of caulking, this is definitely going to give you a nicer job than trying to do it freehand. The last way, and the way I most often do it, is I use these caulking tools. They're great. You just put your caulk down in the corner, neatly of course, and then you take one of these and it'll give you the profile that you're looking for. They have rounded edges and beveled edges, whatever you're looking for. So to do this, put your caulk in, dip your tool in the white vinegar and run it along the edge. And it gives you a beautiful joint. Those are my tips for caulking. If you have some tips that work for you, leave them in the comments down below. Maybe they'll help somebody else. Maybe they'll help me. If you have a caulking gun that you like better, say what it is down below. I'm always willing to try out new tools. Thanks for watching. And it gives you a beautiful joint.